You could call me, well, what could you call me, Elena? What could you call me? I'm a physics teacher. I also teach I dabble in a bit of chemistry. But, you know, hey, I need a name here because I don't want to. Yeah, Morgan Rozanti's my name. Uh, People call me Morg for short. It's a bit morbid. Yeah, but, I'm not actually a haven for dead bodies to be inspected. But anyway, back onto the point. I'm starting a Facebook, and I just thought I'd put myself out there on the interweb, and put myself out there, post up a bit of a soundbite on YouTube, and just want to tell you a bit about myself. Well, I'm mid to late 30s, not sure exactly. Lost track of my birthday after that frankly shocking day I had back in my 4th birthday. As a surprise, my dad took me out to buy a Shih Tzu from the dog pound, in fact. And I got him home. I called him Shitty the Shih Tzu. It was a pretty good name at the time, but unfortunately our good times were cut tragically short. His head was ripped clean off by an angry German Shepherd. It was a tough thing for me to endure, but I figured, well, if a German Shepherd could get that nasty, imagine if I fell in the water with a crocodile. Decided to start watching Steve Irwin. I thought, you know what, this guy's a pretty good bloke. So I started talking like him. And all of a sudden, I've grown up. Here I am, teaching a physics class. And you could say I'm pretty happy. In fact, I found the love of my life teaching the physics class. No, not a student. I don't dabble in things like that. I've said dabble 3 times now. But I don't tend to swing that way towards the illegal kids. But I do have a bit of an attraction to something that's generally behind me, depending on my position in the room, and that is the Smartboard. You'll notice in my Facebook account, it's a picture of a Smartboard, and it's quite a fetching picture. I find it attractive, and yeah, to be honest, I was drawing on it one day, and I felt something there. I thought, hey, this is the sort of gal I'd like to spend the rest of my life with. And I knew that she felt the same way about me because she was so responsive when I jabbed her with pens. She'd respond instantly. I'd be able to draw a circle, and the circle would be right there, whiz bang, straight away. And there'd be no pen marks. You wouldn't even have to use a regular pen. You just use these fancy dancy electronic pens. They were state of the art for the time. They still are now, I think. We've been going steady for about 3 years. We're actually engaged to be married. Probably get married in the spring next year. I love the springtime. I love when the flowers start to bloom. I love that smell in the air, the pollens. The Smartboard and I, neither of us suffer from hay fever, which means that both of us, of course, can frolic through meadows at our leisure without fear of pollen irritation in the nasal passages. Of course, I suppose one of the key advantages to having hay fever would be not exposing yourself to so much aggressive bird life. They tend to be particularly aggro at this time of year, protecting their young and so on and so forth, which is something we'd prefer to avoid, unless you're a bird watcher, in which case you might find it somewhat interest-piquing. But am I a bird watcher? Well, not really, but back to the point. Yeah, my Facebook, it's beautiful. I've basically used it as a shrine for the Smartboard. Of course, I've given her a new name now that we're engaged, because she doesn't talk much. She tends to sit back and just stand there in her own rigid and, well, to be honest, slightly arousing fashion. I've given her a name. Her name is Mandy Mandanti. Mandy Mandanti. Mandy Smartboard Dandanti. No, perhaps not. That's a bit confusing. I might want to scratch that one and just go for Mandy Bordanti. Mandy Bordanti, Mandy Smartboardanti, is highly attractive lass. We spend a lot of time out and about. I love to take her for walks along the jetty. Not always the same jetty, because you walk on one and you think, well, I've felt this one under my toes enough for one day. I move on to another jetty. It's a bit more romantic, a bit more scenic. It's a bit of a difficult thing getting Mandy Smartboardanti onto the jetty with me. She Well, let's not beat around the bush here, you know. She doesn't have any legs. But we get around that. I call my friend at the fire department. His name is Ruben. Ruben loads up the fire truck and he gets down there straight away. He loads up Mandy and gets her down to the jetty. And we have a great old walk. She sits on top of the fire truck. I walk beside the fire truck. I hold hands with the hose. I know it's not her, but she's up there and I know she's there and she's looking down at me and she values my presence. And it's just a romantic time. We go and have dinner. Mandy Smartboard Dante really doesn't eat much. You know, I tried to feed her. You know how those other romantic couples go. They feed each other. You know, I'll pick up a spoon of chocolate mud cake with a bit of natural whipped cream on top. You know, scrumptious stuff that, and put it towards her. I can't find her mouth, to be honest. It's a bit confusing. I'm starting to wonder if she's ever eaten, because she doesn't appear to get any thinner. She's always managed a very trim, rigid figure. The cut of her white plaster front. She's just a very, very fine animal. If she is an animal, I'm not really sure. But I hope she is. I hope she feels about me the way that I feel about her, which, like I said, due to her responsiveness, I think she does. Yeah, any questions? What's your name there? I'll call you Morgan. Any questions, Morgan? You haven't been listening at all. I've been pouring my heart out to you about my favourite woman in the world. Mandy Smartboard Dante.
That wasn't her name before.
It is now. Okay? She can't talk. She's not gonna try and what would you say? She's not gonna try and backchat, question the movement. I give her a name. I think it sounds good. She thinks it sounds good. So now, Elena, you planning to add anything meaningful here? I'd like to, any questions at all? Morgan, I meant, not Elena. Morgan.
What's your favourite thing to do with Smartboard?
Well, I tell you, I've got to be honest. After the last physics class for the day rolls on out, after all those little kiddies roll on out in season 2008, I like to wind the year down by rubbing myself directly against Mandy Smartboard Dante. She finds it very nice. I mean, she even responds to it, usually by rendering a series of lines up and down in response to my movements, my rapid up and down movements. It's like a finger running along, except it's not a finger, it's my love maker. She really enjoys it, I think. I hope she does. If she doesn't, then, well, she hasn't exactly voiced her discontent for it. Let's just put it that way. Yeah, that's what I like to do. I like to go up, rub myself against her, feel her pen holder. I do, actually. I put pens in and out. I put pens in and out of her pen holder rhythmically, you could say. Any other questions, Morgan?
No.
Come on, you must have other questions. The romance here is so complex. Why don't you ask me another question about something unrelated to Mandy Smartboard Dante?
How did you become in love with physics?
Physics, well, long story. I just started liking it one day. The end. No, serious. That's actually a very good question. I think it goes back to when I was about 7 years old, and I was reading a book. I think it was a Spot book. And Daddy used to tell me that I'd grown out of Spot, because Spot's aimed at ages 3 to 5. And at 7, I shouldn't really be reading it. The other kids would make... The other kids... Okay, you got me, Morgan. You got me. It was, in fact, I was probably closer to 13, perhaps 14 years old. I was reading Spot Goes into the Woods. And he brought his shiny red ball with him. I found that quite fascinating.